Hi there. This is a presentation around an alternative to how we present the idea of separating merge requests to your roles, such as those that you're assigned to and those that you have review requests for. So rather than separate lists, we are using separate tabs to display this. And inside each tab, we're going to show the breakdown of the different states that the merge request could be in. Rather than one big giant list, we're still being very opinionated on showing you what's currently active and what's not active here. So all those that are active are the lists that we have been working on, such as return to you, approved by reviewers, open, and drafts. And lists that don't count to the active count is grayed out. The beauty of this is that all the addition of the, what's in this list, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. So those are 4 of yours that are active here. And you actually have 3 reviews. So in that top left-hand corner of GitLab, you will see the number 7. And that number 7 represents all the numbers that are active right now. So if you jump into reviews, you see that right away, we bring to attention what reviews need your action on. So these are your review requested, review started, this is requested, I haven't started. And these ones are reviews that I've already reviewed on, but I'm just waiting for feedback from the assignee. So it could be you requested changes or I approved something, so that it all sits here. The other benefit of this by separating it out into tabs is that we bring back this idea that recently merged can be brought back in the context of, hey, these are your merge requests that have been recently merged, or these are the reviews that you looked at that have been recently merged. So we don't need to have like 2 separate lists in a merge tab or try to do something creative. It's, I feel like, a little bit more straightforward. And it's actually something we tried to do with the current MR homepage. But the challenge is there is that if we introduce 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 plus 4, 10 lists on the current MR homepage, the feedback we generally got is that is very overwhelming, right? One thing that you might see here is that I separated this idea of drafts as its own list. So should we ever explore the idea of, should drafts count to your active count or not? That could be an option that we introduce here. And as a result, if the user says, hey, that's not part of my active count, drafts become something that's inactive. And then your count here reflects 3 that are active and 3 that are reviews. So that count of what's currently active is very specific to the user, but also as a system, that count means the same thing. Is these are the MRs that are active and that need your attention, right? So if we think about this a little bit more, the beauty of the single page layout is that we have the ability to see everything all at a glance. One pushback against this would be, hey, if I had this page open and I get an incoming review, what's going to happen? So I'm going to leverage a little bit of an idea that we had so far around real-time updates and how that might work in this context. So in this scenario, let's say I'm looking at this, I have this open on my tab on my browser, incoming review. I see it coming in as an indicator here. It turns green. We could have a tooltip that says, new MR request received, review request received. You click on it, we see that this list has 1 plus new, and here I can see that this has a green background to indicate that that was the new one. So like the logic that we have implemented in the MR around real-time updates, if you refresh the page and all that, it just resets back to normal and you see 4 and 4. But this is how we can incorporate real-time feedback and have this become the page that you leave on for your merge requests, and you're always aware of what's going on, right? So that is a potential workaround to how we present those that are assigned and those that are reviewed. Now I'm going to compare and contrast that with what we have currently today. So today, this is the current page where we have 8 active. So we have 2 that are returned to you, 4 that are review requested, and 2 that are assigned. So 2, 2, and 4 is 8. The initial experiment around separating the reviews and assigned to you, we simplified the list by doing so. What we proposed was mixing, things that are inactive inside this list as well. The pushback from initial research is that by mixing things up, this number actually becomes really confusing. Like, what does this 4 mean? Because I actually see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I see 7 merge requests here, but what does this 4 mean? And it's like, okay, that's confusing. And also, these inactive elements are also pushing, things that need my attention in the assigned to you down. So, if you have limited vertical height, you're going to be missing some stuff potentially. Same thing with this current homepage is that we try to represent both workflows of assigned to you and reviews all in one. And by doing so, we need to make some opinionated decisions about what list we prioritize over another. And as a result of that, what has been created is like the sandwich effect. And what that means is that we stack them. We believe that something that's returned to you is more important than review requested or assigned to you, so we move that to the top. But actually, the relationship of return to you is more related to assigned to you than review requested. So you have this kind of mental model of this is yours, this is reviews, this is yours. And like on the back of that, another scenario where this happens is, if you have assigned to you and you're actually waiting for approvals, you may be missing it because of the sandwich effect too, because these are your active counts, this is inactive, but in between there, you have these other MRs that are your reviews that you have requested feedback on, that you're waiting for a reply back from the author or assignee. So you end up with the same sandwich scenario of yours, reviews, yours, where we're mixing the two workflows together because we kind of see it as, just take care of the stuff that you need to pay attention to. But those who are monitoring the list, this is actually confusing because you need to almost jump different lists to like keep context of stuff. So the potential solution to that is actually just to reorganize things. But if you reorganize things, I think the end state of it brings you back to the tabbed approach, right? If we rearranged everything and brought everything back into like where it should be, I think you would end up into a very similar scenario of having lists that are associated to yours being assigned to as an author or assignee in one chunk, and another chunk would be your review requested. And then if we display them all on one page, then we run into this scenario where the inactive ones in the reviews or assigned to you, they push down the lists that need your attention. So like by mixing inactive and active, even if you collapse them, it still takes up some visual height. Merge requests that don't need my attention push those that need my attention. So if we compare and look at that, if we go ahead and separate, reviews into one tab and yours into another tab, the other thing is that the vertical space that is taken up it's actually much less than what we have currently. And this kind of streamlined information, I think, presents information more clearly. And if we break it down a little bit further, I want to keep the spirit of what we're trying to do alive. And I think we can do that by expressing our opinionated views of what the state should be inside each specific workflow, rather trying to mix two workflows to make one giant workflow. Just to recap everything here, this is a different view on what assign versus reviews could be. The idea here is using yours, which is a combination of assign or author. By having separate tabs, we remove the sandwich effect of having people jumping context between different lists or potentially missing some MRs. De-emphasizing lists that are inactive also gives us the ability to potentially remove the divider lines because they were more of a crutch to like separate what's active and what's inactive. By having more specific list names, such as like approved by reviewers rather than approved by others, separate lists for drafts, I think we can name these lists a little bit more succinctly and clearly because we're not mixing reviews and assignee, they're specific, that we potentially could remove those little information icons in tooltips. Separating drafts out could give us the opportunity to explore the idea of making drafts not count towards active count, but also maintaining that it's there and it's present so that you can monitor rather than hiding a list or hiding elements. And yeah, and this is like bringing color into the list in a way that it is clear on what the status relates to the action. And I think it works generally pretty well that by glancing at this, the ones that are in color are deactive, the ones that are muted are like inactive. And at all this, you always have the idea that the counts add up to your active count, and that if we incorporate ideas around the real-time updates, we can make this a homepage where people can leave on, still get updates on reviews that come in, while limiting the overwhelming experience of seeing like 10 lists potentially on one page. So yes, this is my proposal on how we could present assign and reviews as an alternative to the current homepage. Thanks.